Good afternoon. Welcome to the joint hearing of the Committee on Education and Committee on Labor and Technology. First up is Senate Bill 2475 relating to education, establishes a harm to students registry for all pre-kindergarten through grade 12 institutions operating in the state to be administered by the Department of Education, requires schools to complete any investigation into employees who have pending allegations of harming students regardless of employment status, requires schools to consult with the Harm to Students Registry before authorizing prospective employees or volunteers to interact with students, requires schools to share information on ongoing or concluded investigations of infliction of harm to a student when requested by another institution, establishes an appeal process for individuals who request removal from the Harm to Students Registry, requires the Hawaii Teacher Standards Board to revoke the licenses of certain individuals who have resigned or retired in lieu of termination, establishes qualified immunity for employers who provide good faith information or opinion on a current or former employee's job performance. And first to testify, Superintendent Hayashi, please.
Aloha, Chair Kidani, Vice Chair Kim, Chair Aquino, Vice Chair Moriwaki, members of the committee, Keith Hayashi, Superintendent, testifying on behalf of the Department of Education. The department stands on its written testimony in support of this measure. Safeguarding the health, safety, and well-being of our students is of highest priority. This bill would create a harm to students registry to prevent individuals who harm children from being employed or volunteering in our schools. It would also allow for effective cross-sharing of information between public and private educational institutions regarding any ongoing or concluded investigations upon request. This will help strengthen the systems in place so that we can further protect our students from these offenders. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you, Superintendent. Members, questions?
Question.
Senator Favela.
So, who in the DOE is going to track of these cases? Who in the DOE is going to track the cases?
Thank you for the question, Senator. We will be working within the department, within our Office of Talent Management, and the complex care superintendents to monitor the system.
How many licenses have been revoked? SB revoked last year.
I'm
How much
sorry,
do we
sir.
have? How much do we have of these licenses being revoked last year?
The licenses being revoked actually would be within the purview of the Hawaii Teacher Standards Board. So I can get that information for you.
The reason why I'm asking him, I understand the reason of the bill, but you know the problem I have is that in the previous past, one person do an assault at one school, and then later on they don't say nothing, and they pop up at the other school, and then that's been happening for a while already, So how is this going to really prevent this from happening?
Well, thank you very much, Senator, for the question. We are very hopeful that by passing this bill and providing the opportunity for public school, charter school, or private school institutions to be able to communicate with each other, to be able to keep a system of registry for those very individuals that you're speaking of, we will be able to communicate and share that information to ensure that these perpetrators do not move from one system to another and teach our students.
Just a follow-up. The only reason why I say this is because I know it happened to one of my schools in a district. I'm not going to say. But they was from another district, but because they was doing elementary schools or younger kids, they decided to move them to the high school, middle school area. I'm not going to say which one. And they continue working for the DOE because of their was told this to keep away from children. I mean, it was kind of crazy when I heard that. I was very disappointed. So I just like to know how effective this is. We're gonna make a bill, how effective the enforcement of this bill will come after we do them. Because last thing we know is coaches, you bear with me, coaches, a lot of the coaches that we know going forward, they call it grooming, yeah? I don't know if that's part of your looking into of complaints of how coaches groom their players into thinking that they're something relationship or not. And some of them, really disgust me, waited to the child who still was going to school, waited to the person, he or her, turned 18, and then had sexual relationship with him, even though he was a coach, and the person was a student, and that was the technicality that they got away, and because her age. So what I would want to see in here, as long as you're an enrolled student, no matter what age, should cover the student, period.
Yes, thank you, Senator. The intent of this bill is to address the very issue that you're talking about, to
Thank you.
support our students. And if maybe we can talk offline
Yeah,
later,
yeah.
that you can share with me some of the issues that.
I will.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate that.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Further questions, members? Thank you,
Thank you.
Superintendent. Yuko Arikawa Cross.
Aloha chairs, vice chairs, and members of the committee. I'm Yuko Arikawa Cross, Director of the Executive Office on Early Learning. We stand on our written testimony in support of this measure with a request for the Director of the Executive Office on Early Learning be included in the temporary panel referenced on page 4, lines 13 to 18. I'm available to answer any questions you might have, and thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you. Members, questions? Thank you. Attorney General's Office.
Good afternoon, Chairs Kidani and Aquino, Vice Chairs Kim and Moriwaki, and Senator Favela and Horiuchi from the Department of the Attorney General. As we noted in our testimony, I think the first thing we wanted to point out is that we do see the difference in this registry contemplated in this bill and the sex offender registry. For this registry, it would only require listing after findings have been made by an educational institution after an investigation, not a criminal conviction in court. In our testimony, we've also suggested some additional revisions, such as adding a reference to Chapter 302L in order to make the registry applicable to pre-kindergarten, if that's the legislature's intent. Removing the reference to Chapter 350, which relates to child abuse and is under the purview of the Department of Human Services. In new subsection A, replacing the term individuals with employee to make it clear that the registry would apply to employees of educational institutions and not to all individuals. Adding in some language that would avoid potential FERPA violations, as well as a suggestion to exempt the registry and the employment documents from non-governmental educational institutions from the Uniform Information Practices Act. Again, there's a lot in our testimony. I'm available for questions.
Thank you. And members, questions? Yes, and so we will be working with you on this. Thank you, Ann. Next to testify, Felicia Villalobos, Executive Director, Hawaii Teacher Standards Board.
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, committee members. My name is Felicia Villalobos. I'm the Executive Director for the Hawaii Teacher Standards Board, speaking on behalf of the board. HTSB supports the efforts to establish this Harm for Students registry. However, the board is concerned about the criteria for someone to be put on this registry. The board doesn't want to be premature and place an employee on the registry until there's a final disposition or disciplinary action taken following the completion of an investigation. And just to add some additional information, when a license is, an action's taken on a license, disciplinary action's taken on a license, we do put it on our website. It is advertised after it has gone through the process of the investigation, the board hears it, they have time to consult an attorney, so on and so forth. There is a process in place. Once action has been taken on a license, it is publicly put onto our website. It is also inputted into the NASDAQ clearinghouse. That's a national clearinghouse that we're a part of, all 50 states and jurisdictions, where if a license is sanctioned in a different state or jurisdiction, it goes into a clearinghouse, and then it's reported if they have a license in our state, and we take action. So I'm available for any questions you guys may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, questions?
Just a follow-up question, the same thing that I asked, how much of this people was put on your website last year?
Last year, we had 33 revocations. I don't have it categorized yet, but some could be fraudulent documents,
Yeah.
misconduct in another state, so I can get that if you want it.
No need,
Okay.
no need, just wanted to know, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a
Oh, yeah.
question. So are you saying that this bill is redundant, or is there something in this bill that we should have that your national registry does not have, so that we could assure protections for our kids?
Yeah, if they want to start it.
Pre-K?
Yeah, thank
Pre-K
you. From pre-K, so if we can all get together, because we may not have the pre-K information as well, and come with that registry, that's fine, under the guidance of the AG's office to make sure it's following the process, the due process of a revocation or some kind of sanction on a license or permit. Happy to be involved in that as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next to testify, Phil Bossert.
Good afternoon, Chair Kidani, Vice Chair Kim, Vice Chair Moriwaki. My name is Philip Bossert. I'm the Executive Director of the Hawaii Association of Independent Schools and the Hawaii Council of Private Schools. I'll stand mostly on our testimony here. We think this is an extremely important bill, and that there's currently 114 private schools, and and if you consider not just the teachers that are affected by the standards board, but all of the staff of both the public and the private and the charter schools, I'm sure it's like 50,000+ persons that are moving around every year. And because there is almost always a shortage of teachers in both the public and the private schools, schools are often very anxious to get anybody they can to do the work. And so it's often, since I will say, as I said in my testimony, it's often the case that a school, when it discovers the sexual abuse or the harm to the student, they don't want to tarnish their reputation, so they just say, be nice, just leave, we won't say anything. And then that person just hops over to the next school, and that school is happy to get an experienced person. So we're very much in favor of seeing this bill move forward, and the cooperation, as Superintendent Hayashi mentioned, the cooperation and communication that the registry would provide among all of the schools, public, private, charter, I think is the key component in this. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. That was very good testimony. Appreciate it. Members, questions? Thank you, Phil.
Thanks.
Next to testify, Michael Latham.
Aloha, chairs and vice chairs. I'm Mike Latham, president of Punahou School and the chair of the governance committee of the Hawaii Association of Independent Schools. I'll stand on my written testimony. I'm strongly in favor of the proposed legislation for several reasons. I think when parents enroll students at our schools, they are entrusting us with the welfare of their children. It is our responsibility to do everything we can to ensure their safety. Current legal provisions, I think, are inadequate to address the problem we're looking at today. It's very easy for people who are dismissed for sexual misconduct to move from one institution to another. The fact is, research shows that many of the perpetrators are in fact serial perpetrators which makes the condition all the more serious and worth considering. Because of the risk of defamation or the fear of defamation, schools oftentimes don't share information with each other. They don't issue necessary warnings to each other. Many settlements are often confidential as well, which allows people to move to additional institutions. Or they may resign prior to the completion of an investigation, which is an existing loophole that also has to be closed. So the bill creates a registry which would require that hiring officers at independent schools, at public schools, and at charter schools consult that registry to determine whether or not that individual is listed. If the person is listed, they cannot hire that person. And the objective here is to do, as Senator Favela said, to ensure that these people have no further contact with students and to ensure that that is in place. I really appreciate the careful reading of the bill provided by the Attorney General's office. I'm quite confident that the concerns that they raise are ones that we can address through getting the right legal language together. Certainly, I would agree that there must be a finding. Certainly, I'd agree that there must be an investigation. The bill provides an approach for due process. I think we can come up with an approach that would satisfy all parties. I think licensing is an important part of this, but I would argue that the revocation of license really only applies to teachers and to teachers within the DOE. Many independent school teachers do not have licenses. They're not required to be licensed. And of course, many other employees and staff are not licensed either. And so we need a broader approach that ensures that anybody who is in contact with our students on a regular basis is covered by the provisions of the bill. I'm happy to respond to any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Michael. Members, questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
For your testimony, very important. Okay. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on this matter? Thank you. Can I call Felicia back? I'm sorry, I had a question for her.
Yes.
There it is, never mind. Would Hawaii Teacher Standards Board recommend adding additional language similar to that in Senate Bill 3089? As I would like to have both vehicles pass out of this committee, knowing that Senate Bill 2475 is more comprehensive. This is an important issue preventing our keiki from sexually being abused. The language in Senate Bill 3089 would be added to this Senate Bill 2475 measure. And just wanted to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, we just want to make sure that the investigation is complete or the process is complete before the board takes any action, revocation on the license. The board does not want to be sued for taking away a license or adding a sanction to a license without going through the entire process. So yes.
Thank you. Members, further questions?
I have one of the Attorney General. Just for clarifications, we heard that this bill seems to apply to only the teachers, but as I read it, employee is all employees, contractors, or volunteers. Is that correct? Or who is covered under this?
Right, well, I think the bill identifies employee on page 6 as all employees, contractors, and volunteers.
So
of
it's
an
everyone,
institution.
not just teachers, right?
Right, this bill.
Right,
would-
under this definition. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you, and just to add, the intent of this committee is to pass out this measure, so we probably need to work with you a little bit more to get some of the language down pat.
Sure.
Thank you. Members, further questions? Thank you. Moving on to Senate Bill 3089 relating to education, requires that licensed teachers have their license revoked by the Hawaii Teachers Standard Board if the teacher is resigning or retiring during the pendency of any investigation into allegations of sexual assault, sexual harassment, or other physical abuse of a student, which complements the previous bill. To testify. Do I have a testimony? Oh, sorry. Superintendent, please.
Aloha chairs, vice chairs, members of the committee. Keith Hayashi, Superintendent, testifying on behalf of the Department of Education. The department stands on its written testimony in support of this measure. Similar to the previous bill, this measure will help to protect our students. Under this measure, a teacher who elects to resign or retire while being investigated for allegations of sexual assault, sexual harassment, or other physical abuse of a student would be considered terminated, and their teaching license would be revoked. This would result in their name going on a national list of teachers whose licenses have been revoked, helping ensure that they are not eligible to teach in another school or state. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you, Superintendent. Members, questions of the superintendent?
I got a question.
Senator Favela?
So I understand that part, but if they are, I guess I don't use the word alleged, but let's just say the allegations is founded, what is the chances of them? So this is the thing about this one right here. They can retire or they can leave pending years and years of whatever, depending on how long the average, does take the investigation. How long usually one of these investigations take?
Thank you.
Average?
Thank you for the question, Senator. The investigations, we would like to ensure that investigations are conducted in the most expeditious manner. It does vary, though, depending sometimes on availability of witnesses and such. So some investigations may take months to get it finished and completed and render a decision, and others may take a little longer than that.
So we're just having that, why we're not adding to this, if they're found guilty, they lose their retirement, their pension, and all of that, because we, the taxpayer, is gonna have to pay for what this person had done to one child. Maybe they never do them and got caught with 10 childs before that, but they got caught with a child just previous to them gonna retire. So why do they don't get penalized like any other area that they always talk about? If they get caught and they get busted and they lose everything. I mean, that should have more of a bite for teach these predators not to be predating around our kids. Because there's no consequence. I'm gonna go, I'm gonna pay on restitution. Here, Senator Kim, few $1,000s, that's it, pow, and I'm gonna retire in Florida. I don't see them in Florida, but you know what I mean, they're gonna retire,
Yes.
right? There's no consequence to this, because I retired. Unless I wanna come back and go teach again, which most of them do, or most of them don't, it's not gonna really have any bite.
Thank you for the question, Senator. My understanding is the intent of this bill is to revoke a teacher's license. What happens after that related to retirement, related to other issues of employment, I believe that would be beyond the scope of the department's purview.
Thank you, Chair.
Senator Kim?
Would it be the purview of the Board of Ed?
Senator, I can get back to you on that. I know it's an employment question that both senators are asking. The reason why I'm hesitant to answer is I want to be sure that I give the correct response. I'm not sure if a teacher is, in this case, if a teacher is terminated and loses their license, what repercussions, if any, are there to their individual retirement? That I'm not sure, so I can't get back to you on that.
If they are found guilty in a court of law, then they might be subject to, because I know the police had something where they lost 50% of the retirement, or was it full amount? Under the case of the chief, we had that whole situation, and the police commission, I think, or we had a bill, didn't we have a bill that they lost 50%? Yeah.
I'm not sure if the Attorney General would have, I'm not sure on the law component of that, Senator. I can get back to you. I want to be sure
I
that.
think we'd have to pass something. Or-
Yeah, we can talk to the
But
Attorney
there's
General.
precedent, I think there's precedent, because I think we've passed in the case of police.
I mean, when it comes down to restitution, right? I mean, we don't want the state paying for this person and they're just retired.
We are very much in support of protecting our students.
Yeah.
And ensuring that those individuals that we're hiring in the department that work directly with our students, whether it be teachers or in any other capacity, that, we're doing the best we can to support them and keep them safe, which is really important.
Right, but a lot of our laws have no teeth. That's the thing, right? We pass laws and it says, you're prohibited from doing this, you're prohibited from doing that, but there's really no teeth in it. Yeah, they might lose their license, but again, they can go somewhere else, but then they take the pension and everything else that's paid for.
Yes, Senator, I can get back to you on that. I don't have the answer to that. I do know, though, that my understanding is that in this case, they're put on the national registry, and they would lose their license. And if my understanding is correct, and I defer to Hawaii Teacher Standards Board, but my understanding is correct that they will not be able to, there's no reciprocity at that point, and the teacher would not be able to teach in another state that we have reciprocity with.
Yeah, but if
But
they're
I understand your question
if they're
about
near
the
the retirement age. and
retirement,
if
right.
we're- So what is your personal opinion about, we want to, once something happens, it's too late. The child is damaged for life in some cases. So we want to deter that. And so to deter that, we have to put teeth in our laws so people realize there's consequences. And if they do something so terrible as this, that they will lose whatever they had. Hopefully that'll be one of the deterrents, that it won't happen. Of course, sometimes people are sick, so it won't. But at the same time, again, the taxpayers are the ones that are going to be paying for this individual for the rest of their life, right? With the pension and so forth.
For me, Senator, I do want to be sure that whatever we're doing within the department is we're operating within the scope of existing
Yeah, but
law.
I'm asking you personally, do you think that
And,
we should have teeth in the law and that people should be deterred in that way?
Personally, yes, I believe that we should do all we can to help protect our students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Further questions of Superintendent? Thank you, Superintendent.
Thank you.
Felicia?
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, and members of the committee. My name is Felicia Villalobos, Executive Director of the Hawaii Teacher Standards Board, here on behalf of the board. We stand on our written comments, and I would like to highlight, similar to the prior bill, Senate Bill 3089, this bill also asks HTSB to revoke a license prematurely. We need to ensure that a process is already in place and an investigation is completed and a ruling is made before HTSB revokes a license. Also, perhaps it should be added that an individual should surrender their license if they resign or entire lieu of termination. We can put them in the NASDAQ clearinghouse. We also encourage our partners to join the NASDAQ clearinghouse. They can join as an associate member for $500, and they can run all their staff, from custodial staff, cafeteria staff, all their staff employed through the NASDAQ clearinghouse. We have found nationally that some individuals who lose their license may go into a school in a different capacity as custodial, cafeteria workers, bus drivers, coaches. They're able to run that person through their social security number and birth date to see if they have a hit on a license in a different state or jurisdiction. I'm available for any questions.
Members, questions?
Just a real quick follow-up. So would you think for this bill going forward, what you said, would you think that we should add something to the provisions that would penalize them or making them lose portion or all of their retirement to compensate and pay restitution?
That would be interesting information to find out what other states and other jurisdictions are doing as well, so we can have that national conversation. I can reach out. We have a Professional Practice Institute every year. It's an annual conference that deals with educator misconduct. I can go and talk to those stakeholders to see what other states are doing when someone loses their license or has a sanction or a revocation. Superintendent is accurate. If it goes into the NASDAQ clearinghouse, that national database, it hits on every single license they have in other jurisdictions, so they're unable to teach. And if they happen to not have a license in that state, once they input their social and the birth date, it'll hit that they have a revocation in another state or jurisdiction. So their teaching career is pretty much done. But yeah, that would be a great question to have at a national conversation to see what other states are doing when a teacher loses their license. What else is lost with that?
They can work in a parks department or work with kids in other.
Yeah, and that's why that associate membership is really important. If the private schools want to be a partner of that associate membership for $500 a year, they can run their own off of social and birthday to see if they were somehow in Tennessee lost their license or certificate, but it only accounts for teachers. It wouldn't count for someone who has, unless it risen to the level of subtype of misdemeanor or felony that's on a fingerprint check.
Further questions, members?
Thank you.
Felicia, you talked about asking the teacher to surrender their license, if we haven't done our homework and, gotten evidence of wrongdoing. How many teachers do you know of who have surrendered licenses?
I would have to refer back to the department. From my understanding, they have a paper that they sign saying, I am resigning or retiring in lieu of termination, and then it says something to the effect that the investigation will be resumed if they try to get employment with the Department of Education. So I'm still trying to work with the department on that language. We were trying to add some kind of checkbox. I also will surrender my license. It will be reported in the NASDAQ clearinghouse if they do not want to finish an investigation. So it would probably be in the best interest to finish an investigation, and then we can take action that way.
And then again, in that clearinghouse, you
Correct.
talk about, that is across the United States.
Correct.
that
Across the
Teacher
US and
Standards Board use
jurisdictions.
it.
Yep, we use it. So we've actually found people that teachers, apparently not all teachers know about this clearinghouse. We found people with 4 different revocations in 4 different states, and they apply for Hawaii. And we say, once they hit create an account with their social and birthday, it hits, because we run it 24 hours. So then we say, we gotta go look what's going on with all these licenses. So we start contacting the different states and different licensing agencies.
Interesting, thank you.
So just one question. So if I were a teacher and I didn't want to complete the investigation and I just dropped out, would that go into the National Registry? So it wouldn't show up?
No, it wouldn't show up unless we got the investigation from the Department of Education. So unfortunately, the Hawaii Teacher Standards Board does not have their own investigation team like other licensing states do. They have a whole department dedicated to investigations of teacher misconduct. We unfortunately do not have that right now. So we rely on the Department of Education. We work closely with them to get any of
But does the
the,
National Registry have a checkbox where if the Department of Education says this was terminated by the individual, so investigation wasn't complete, so that information goes out into the registry? Is there something
we can
like
put,
that
we can put a different types of information. We can put types, why they got their license revoked. Not necessarily, I don't think we put in the, that they decided to resign or retire in lieu of termination. That's something we can probably talk agency to agency, because they do contact us if they find a hit from a Hawaii license that has been revoked. Let's say in Texas, they'll contact us for more investigation information, and then at that time, we can share.
Because it seems that that's as much of a problem, because people won't go through it, and then they'll go to the next state,
Right.
because it's not listed.
So hopefully,
as
if we have that that surrender, then we can put them into the NASDAQ. So, well, this is your choice. You don't want to finish the investigation. Your choice is to surrender it, and we're going to put it in the NASDAQ clearinghouse, or you can go ahead and go through the due process of finishing your investigation.
In your time as with the Teacher Standards Board, have you ever seen a case where someone has surrendered their license because of an investigation that they did not want to happen?
No.
And how
No, usually they surrender because there was some kind of the field wasn't properly given to them, or they didn't want to go through our investigative process. However, the loophole is they try to use reciprocity before surrendering it. So what they'll do is when they know that they're about to surrender their license, they'll go to another state where the license is still good, use reciprocity, and then surrender ours, and then can keep that other license. So there's that little, until we can put them into the system.
Interesting. Members, further questions? Thank you, Peter. Okay, I think the Attorney General's office and we have some more work to do on this bill. Yeah, I mean, there's some things that we can clean up, but I'm not sure that it's enough of what we're looking for, so thank you. Thanks, and Joyce.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Senate Bill 3090, related to workers' comp. Okay, allows newly graduated high school students to be eligible for workers' comp coverage during the summer following their graduation while participating in DOE-sponsored work-based learning programs. Up first, we have Superintendent.
Aloha, Chair Aquino, Vice Chair Moriwaki, Chair Kidani, Vice Chair Kim, members of the committee, Keith Hayashi, Superintendent, testifying on behalf of the Department of Education. The department stands on its written testimony in support of this measure. Workplace-based internships and mentorships provide an excellent pathway to prepare students for life after high school. Extending workers' compensation coverage through the summer after their senior year will provide peace of mind to both employers and students participating in these internships. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Okay, thank you very much. Up next, we have Hawaii Kids Can. David Miyashiro. Can't support. Any others wishing to testify? Senate Bill 3090. Seeing none, members' questions. Vice Chair.
Superintendent. Two things. One, on the coverage for students until July 31st, after they graduate. So all of your internship programs end on July 31st. You don't have any that go past it, so what is the July 31st special?
I believe, and I'll double check, but I believe the July 31st date was selected as an endpoint. Internships may end before, but after July 31st, we're looking at a new school year. So we're looking to end internships by 7/31.
Okay. And also, you're saying that you would like to cover the workers' comp, but I don't see an appropriation in your budget or in the bill. So how much are you estimating the workers' comp would be for these kids?
I can get that information to you, Senator. I believe in the last 5 years, as we had internships in schools, I don't believe that there's been a workers' comp claim through student internships for 5 years. But I can get an estimate on that for you.
There's no provision for an appropriation, so
Okay.
if there is a cost, we should know about it.
Yes, I'm sorry about that. I'll get that to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh.
Yes.
So currently, there is worker compensation for students, just not for newly graduated students.
Yes, I believe so.
So what happens when a student claims an injury? How does that work? Like, they're there for what, a month maybe, internship, 2 months, and they get hurt like, a week before the end of it, then what happens?
1 second, Senator. Sean Bacon, Assistant Superintendent for the Office of Talent Management.
Thank you, Senator, for the question. My understanding of it is if they are a high school student of ours and they are in an internship program, they would be eligible to be covered under our workers' comp, but it runs up until they would to graduate. So what we're just trying to do here with this is we're just trying to extend it through the summertime up until
I
that.
understand, but what does that mean? What do you cover? Just the medical? Do you give?
So
what do
they would
cover?
receive the workers' comp benefits. So we would, if they needed to go to their doctor, they needed appropriate coverage, any type of drug or prescription that they may need, anything like that, that would be covered during this time. I would have to check on that, but I believe that they're eligible for it while they are a student.
So as soon as
So I
they're
think-
not a student or they graduate, even though they still sustain the injury, they no longer fall under the compensation?
I need to check on that. I don't have an answer for you on that off the top of my head on that
Shouldn't you
one.
guys know that? I mean, if we're extending the coverage, I mean, we gotta know what we're extending the coverage, or what the current coverage is.
Personally, I would think that if they got hurt while they were a student doing something for a DOE, that they should be covered until they are, until they're healed or whatever it is.
That would be my understanding, but I don't want to misspeak in front of the committee here. So I would want to just confirm and get back to you on that.
So in regular workers' comp, not if I get hurt or somebody here gets hurt, and we have our doctors paying, but we get paid while we're on workers' comp.
It's 2/3 of the compensation.
Yeah, so what, the students get some kind of compensation in addition to the coverage?
I don't believe they're eligible, Senator, but we'll double check on that and get back to you.
That's what I kind of understand how that works.
Yeah, but for a current salaried employee, it would be 2/3 of their compensation.
Because they're not employees, they're interns.
It's an intern, correct.
Unpaid interns,
Right,
interns that are not getting paid,
but workers' comp has a lot of,
right?
It's an employee.
because it is usually for employees. Okay, I was just curious.
But they are considered employees, unpaid employees.
No, they're student internships, Senator.
So, yeah, I think we're gonna need to clarify
We'll get
that,
clarification, yes.
whether it's workers' comp or just DOE is liable for their medical costs.
Yes, Chair. We'll get back to the committee on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, because they are students, so you might want to check into that and see whether you might have medical coverage or something to address the internships.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a student medical coverage offered?
I don't believe through the internship program, though, no.
Just a question then, what happens when a student on campus gets hurt? What happens to who covers them?
I believe they submit a claim through our court office, but we'll get
Because
back
it's
to you on
not,
that.
I don't think they would get workers' comp.
No,
They
no,
would
no.
get some other kind of coverage.
Right.
Usually the families have medical coverage, right?
Well, check into what
Well,
you do with
okay.
students, and you're extending the student, and then you cover it through that.
Okay, thank you.
That's, I guess, not a questionnaire, a question that's on a questionnaire that students get when they enter school.
They have
They do, they do fill out on their health form and
But
registration form.
Okay, but does someone in the DOE or at the school check? Because if they have no medical coverage, you may not want to use them as an intern. And be liable unless they can provide information on medical coverage.
We'll check on that.
Thank you very much, members. Any other questions? Is Budget and Finance here by any chance? Okay. All right. Potential fiscal impact. Okay. Thank you very much. Recess for decision.
Yes. Okay, we're in recess. We are reconvening the committees on education and labor. Members, the recommendation of the chair for Senate Bill 2475 is to pass with amendments, and we need to work a little bit more I'm sorry. Is it this one? Yeah, we do need to work with our Attorney General. We're adopting their testimony, as well as the Department of Education, and insert language, in the event an individual retires or resigns from teaching prior to the completion of the investigation, the individual must surrender his or her Hawaii teaching license, and the surrender of the individual's teaching license will be reported to the National Association of State Directors of Teachers, Education, and Certification. Comments, questions, members? Thank you. For you guys don't have comments?
Vote?
Yes.
Okay, the recommendation for Senate Bill 2475 is to pass with amendments. Chair?
Chair votes aye.
Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Hashimoto?
Aye.
Senator Richards is excused. Senator Favela?
Aye.
4 ayes, 1 excused, the recommendation is adopted.
Okay, Labor Committee, same recommendations. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
Chair votes aye.
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Hall excused. Senator Lee.
Aye.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
Four recommendations adopted.
Thank you. And for Senate Bill 3089, recommendation of the chair is also to pass with amendments. This is the bill that will pull the licensing if the teachers retire or resign before the investigation is completed. The recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair votes aye.
Chair votes aye on Senate Bill 3089, passed with amendments. Any members on the Education Committee voting with reservations? Anyone in opposition? Hearing none. 4 members present, all voting in affirmative. Madam Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you very much. Labor Committee, same recommendations. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
So, any opposition, any reservations, Senator Hall excused, the measure is adopted.
Okay, thank you very much. On to the last, Senate Bill 3090 relating to workers' compensation. We're going to defer decision-making until we receive a little bit more clarifying information from DOE. Okay. So
Members, before we adjourn, can I go back and just clarify on our Senate Bill, is it 3089, where we are also adopting the testimony of the Hawaii Teacher Standards Board in that language that we will do amendments on. Questions? Thank you, members. We are adjourned.
Okay, just to clarify again, for 3090, we're going to defer decision-making to Friday at 3 p.m. Same conference room.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
We are adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Calling to order the Committee on Education, our second agenda, Monday, February 5th at 3:15 p.m. First item on the agenda is Senate Bill 3087, relating to early learning, expands access to early learning programs on other state properties and public lands besides the Department of Education public school campuses. Sorry. To testify, Superintendent Hayashi.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Curto Taguro, testifying on behalf of our Superintendent Keith Hayashi and for the department. The department stands on its written testimony in support of this measure. Just want to share that, studies have shown that the quality of early learning opportunities have lifelong impacts, positive impacts on the Hawaii's keiki and their families. And as you know, we've been working with the Ready Keiki program and EOEL to expand the number of classrooms, thanks to the leadership of the Lieutenant Governor. And so we're very much behind this. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Members' questions? Moving on to Yuko Arikawa Cross, EOEL.
Aloha, Chair Kirani, Vice Chair and members of the committee. I'm Yuko Arikawa Cross, Director of the Executive Office on Early Learning. We stand on our written testimony in strong support of this measure. I'd like to quickly highlight a few comments that have more detail in our written testimony. The intention of this bill is to expand the current pre-plus contract model to also apply to existing underutilized spaces on other public properties in addition to what currently exists on Department of Education campuses. This measure has no fiscal request, nor requires any operational funding, as it would provide EOEL the authority to contract early learning services on existing underutilized spaces. We also want to note that the amendments also include using the verbiage early learning, as early learning is already defined in our statute. I'm available to answer questions, and mahalo for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you. Members, questions? Thank you, Yuko. Next to testify, Office of Hawaiian Affairs, Keopu Release.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Keopu Relitz. I'm the Director of Advocacy for the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. We stand on our written testimony in support. And just a quick highlight, we are 4 years into our 15-year strategic plan. And when we were building the community input to that strategic plan, one of the most clear needs that came from our community was the ability to provide high quality keiki and kupuna care. So we stand in support of this as one piece to move the needle on ensuring we have access to keiki care. Mahalo.
Thank you. Members, questions? Thank you. Next to testify, Sherry Nakamura.
Sherry Nakamura, a coalition, stand on a written testimony in support.
Thank you, Sherry. Members, any questions on Sherry's written testimony? Next to testify, Angela Melody Young.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and the committee. Angela Melody Young, testifying in strong support on behalf of CARES. So early learning and early childhood education is so important to our school systems and to supporting parents, teachers, and the community. The new policy is to request to create additional public spaces for early learning programs. The Executive Office on Early Learning has a public pre-kindergarten program, and it's provided in collaboration with the Hawaii Department of Education. And the program provides high-quality learning experiences, which addresses children's physical development and health and social and emotional development, cognition, language, and literacy, and approaches to learning. The Ready Keiki program from the LG's office reflects a superior quality of early childhood education program, and this is a good time to work on this, as the city has also created an early childhood program from the Department of Community Services, the Early Childhood Division Office. So we are in strong support. We have a small team for our art class, and we have to talk to parents and teachers and students all the time. So this is very relatable to the community and to CARES. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, questions of Melody? Thank you. On Zoom, we have Chevelle Davis.
Aloha, Chair Kidani, Vice Chair Kim, and members of the committee. My name is Chevelle Davis, Director of Early Childhood and Health Policy with Hawaii Children's Action Network Speaks, standing on our written testimony in strong support of this measure. Mahalo for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you, Chevelle. Are there any additional testifiers present who would like to testify? If not, members, questions of any of the testifiers?
General question. There's no appropriation in this measure. Is there any cost associated with putting programs on other properties?
So currently with the pre-plus contracts that are on DOE campuses, it's a partnership with it's a public-private partnership with the Department of Education. So sometimes there may be nominal fees like in electricity and some other costs that come with use of facilities.
Yeah, but now you're going outside of DOE properties, right? So what's the cost might be?
So that's where we'll have to negotiate with different holders of land. So we know that there's different holders of land even on DOE school campuses. And so we have to take a look at agreements with them, whoever is willing to enter into these agreements with us.
So you're looking at more of someone reciprocating in a partnership versus charging you rent?
I think we're open to all kinds of agreements right now. It'd just be expanding the ability to have a public-private partnership.
So if there are funds available, required, where's that money going to come from?
So that would probably have to come into the agreement of the contract of the space.
Yeah, but where are you going to get the money to pay for it?
So that could come into the agreement with the contract with whoever the provider might be, the public-private partnership provider.
Okay,
So
it wouldn't come from government?
I'm not expecting it to, no.
Okay. Come back next year and ask for money. Okay.
Thank you. So do you have any leads on places that might want things? Like, I know OHA has discussed this several times. I don't know if they have recreation centers on any of the Hawaiian homelands that could have these kinds of facilities.
So nothing is 100% certain right now, but we have been exploring many different places. For example, one exploration was at like Kamamalu Park, let's say, for example, or another example that was thrown out was in the library systems or in different developments that the city and county is, kind of bringing up, and partnerships with other facilities developments for housing. And so I think that right now, EOEL does not have the ability to support the early care and learning system in this way. So I think that this is one method that we can use, a strategy, to be able to increase access for children and families.
Thank you. I think that it would be a good idea possibly to look at some of our libraries or other spaces that are not in full use during the day. Of course, it depends on the location and the size of the library, but I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do utilize the University Center on the Family. They did do research in terms of access and opportunity across all of Hawaii. So we are taking a look at that in addition to Lieutenant Governor's map.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to testify on this matter? If not, moving on to Senate Bill 2114 relating to feral animals. Why is this in my committee? Sorry. Prohibits the feeding of feral animals within a certain distance from Department of Education public school campuses. Establishes fines. Do you have your tape measure ready for measuring? Sorry. DOE.
Good afternoon, Chair and Vice Chair, members of, one member of the committee, Curto Tuguro, Deputy Superintendent. Department stands on its written testimony offering comments. And as Senator, you said, while we are supportive of the concept, we need clarification as to how you would define the footage. More importantly, how we would enforce it. And when you enforce something with civil penalties, then there's a lot of requirements for signage, and there would be expense associated with that kind of notice to the public. So the execution in this bill it needs further clarification. Thank you for this opportunity to testify.
Thank you, members. Questions?
Questions? So you said might require putting signage.
No feeding.
So then how does the city and county enforce their feeding of feral cats? Because most of the areas that they're feeding and getting ticketed or reprimanding don't have signs.
Then legally, it's difficult to enforce, right? We need signage that refers to an HRS specifically. Then that would allow the enforcement officer to take action. Without a proper sign, you can say that, but it's hard to apply the civil penalty.
somebody told me that was very intelligent, that is there any way we can potty train all the feral animals?
All we could wish. It's a challenge for our entire state. There's no question about it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions? Anyone else wishing to testify on this measure? I have my list. Holly Holowak? Oh, sorry.
Aloha e kako. Good afternoon. Thank you for listening to me. I am Holly Holowak, president and founder of Popoki Place, Oahu Cat Sanctuary, which is a large-scale planned sanctuary to help feral cats. I appreciate and respect the work of the Committee of Education and the Department of Education, but when I read this bill, I was wondering, why did you feel it was necessary to write this bill and create such a law that would impact every public school in the state? What happened? Why did you need to take a drastic step? I wondered who would enforce it. As he said, it's going to be very expensive to try to figure out who's going to have fines. And if the feral animals you're talking about is cats, please understand that those who are feeding are also doing trap, neuter, release, manage, and the feeding is an important part of identifying the cats that need to be trapped and neutered so that it reduces the population over time. It's a slower way to reduce the population than killing, but it is effective and it is humane. I oppose this bill and stand on my testimony, and I'm here to answer any questions, and I urge you to vote no.
Thank you, Holly.
Chair.
Question?
Just like get your clarification, I understand the part about the cats, but I don't know what area you live, but where I live and a lot of places where I live, we have feral chickens.
Yes.
And they're very, very aggressive.
Yes.
And dirty too, but they're very aggressive. So this is not just about
Cats.
going after the cats, it's just any of the feral animals that is being kept with bread and all this kind of stuff. Is very much a nuisance. When the kids go in, they dig like this in the dirt. So the kids go play, get holes in the ground from the chickens, digging up the dirt. So it's not just, feeling that way. It's not. When we looked at the bill,
Okay.
it wasn't just about cats.
I appreciate that, and I want to say something. I was the director of Weinberg Village, Waimanalo, for 17 years. It was a homeless shelter for families in a very rural setting with 3 acres of cats and chickens. I walked onto the property, and there were cats everywhere, and there were chickens everywhere. And they make those holes, and the chickens are really more of a problem. And when I would feed the cats, the chickens would come and eat it all up as fast as they could. So I ended up feeding chicken feed to the chickens over here and cat food over here. But I must say that in the 17 years that I was there, I never had anybody complain about cats causing a problem for them. Nobody got sick. Nobody had, even my pregnant mothers didn't get sick. I never got complaints about that. I know there are issues with cats, and the reason I created Popoki Place was because of a direct result of my experience there. I want to make a difference. And I have brochures for you that I can leave with the clerk so you understand who we are. And I don't know how you would just identify feral chickens as being one in that bill or feral cats being in the bill. But if you could allow the colony caregivers to continue to feed the cats nearby, they can be at the edge or whatever, but as long as you have food coming from the cafeteria or whatever, animals will come. All animals will come.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Well, I have 2 dogs that are adopted from Koi Dogs and Popoki.
Oh.
So I understand your testimony, just trying to figure out how we deal with it on school grounds.
We have another testifier also.
Okay, next to testify, Noriko Freeman. There's no Noriko. Noriko Freeman.
Oh, Noriko.
Next to testify, Leslie Witten.
Good afternoon, Chair Kidani, Vice Chair, distinguished committee. My name is Leslie Witten. I'm here today as a enthusiastic citizen. I'm really excited to be here today. I've been part of the Feral Cat TNRM volunteer force across this island for years, trying to make a difference because we do have a problem. I also volunteer for Poi Dog and Popoki. I also work at a school. I work at a school that's had feral animals positioned on it since the beginning of time. We're along the Hawai'i Marsh. I'm not here representing the school, to make that clear. I'm here as a citizen to share my experiences. The language of this bill is why I oppose it. It broadly covers all feral animals, and I think the nuance is important. When we talk about feral cats, to not be able to feed directly inhibits our ability to help with the animal control. In 2022, my school stopped allowing feeding. They prohibited it. It interfered with our TNRM efforts, standing for trap, neuter, return, manage efforts. And I witnessed how the problem got worse. The cat population increased, the area that they roamed looking for food increased, they were under classrooms, in the trash cans, pooping outside of the library. The exposure to potential contaminants increased because the designated feeding areas were prohibited on the perimeter of the campus. Plus, hungry cats eat birds, which are native wildlife we need to protect. They also eat rodents, which are the disease carriers. When you don't feed the feral cats in this bill, that equals more cats, less birds, more disease. Disallowing feeding simply won't work, but partnering with TNRM feeders will. I've set up a program at my school that has a registry of authorized feeders. We document our feral animals, we sterilize them, microchip them. We work as a community in collaboration with community organizations like the Humane Society, Poi Dog and Popoki, and other organizations to make a difference. This bill should be opposed because it's too vague, too hard to manage. And there are better ways we can do it. I'm happy to share our school's program with the DOE and other schools to try to make a lasting difference. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'd be happy if you would share that with our committee also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next to testify, Jasmine May Tapala. Jasmine. On Zoom, Stephanie Kendrick. Stephanie.
Aloha, Chair Kadani, Vice Chair Kim, and Senator Favela. Stephanie Kendrick with the Hawaiian Humane Society. Thank you for allowing me to be with you today. I wanted to share our comments on this measure. For the reasons that other testifiers have brought up, the measure might be counterproductive to its goal of reducing the population of feral animals on and around school campuses. Feeding is a necessary component of the humane population management for animals living outdoors, including feral cats, chickens, pigeons, even pigs need to have their traps baited. So we would encourage the committee, if you are going to pass this out, to adopt the language that we had inserted in our state microchipping law that would exempt population management programs from the prohibitions outlined in this measure, to distinguish folks who really are working to reduce these animal populations from those who might just be putting food out on the landscape, which is not an activity we support. I would also point out that the definition of feral in this measure is really inconsistent with the way we normally use that term, which regards an animal's socialization toward people. The definition of feral in this measure would really apply to any stray animal, whether it's an owned pet or not. So I would suggest a definition of feral that has to do with a lack of socialization to human beings. I appreciate the committee's time. Thank you for hearing my testimony.
Thank you, Stephanie. Next to testify, Kathy Gogol. On Zoom.
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
Thank you. Next to testify, Renee Rabb, also on Zoom. Renee?
Thank you, Chair and senators, members of the committee. I'm not going to take up your time. I'm going to echo briefly some of the I am very opposed to this bill. I want to echo the information that you've already been provided by varieties of organized groups that work with rescuing and rehoming and adopting animals. One of my primary objections to the bill is the definition of feral animals, as Steph just mentioned. It is very vague. It is going to be very, very problematic for anybody to be able to enforce. Thank you so much, and please defer this bill. It will cause more problems than it solves.
Thank you for your testimony. Members' questions? Is there anyone else here wishing to testify on this measure?
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and the committee. Angela Melody Young, testifying in strong support on, actually, I'm so sorry, in opposing, on behalf of Roar Rescue of Animal Rights. So living creatures have a right to life, and if the people from the community are caring for the feral cats and feral chickens near a school, those living creatures have a right to life and should receive care. And if the state has not legislated parameters to manage those species, then people will have to provide medical care, trap and neuter services, and feedings to the feral chickens and cats. Typically, these resources and care can be provided by DLNR and DOA. DLNR has the purview to manage forestry and wildlife sanctuaries and various animals and various species. DOA manages animal industry division and quarantine and health standards of those operating with living creatures. The most appropriate offices to manage the animals from the state are those offices, and the city works with the Humane Society. And so this is the rationale to why we oppose this bill, because if the due diligence is not done to manage and to be stewards, and although the state has every right to make a law about no access for people trying to provide medical care for feral cats and feral chickens, this law will be working against the advocates who have spent endless time and resources providing surgeries, medical care, food, and also the advocates are working without support from the state. And the city, although works with the Humane Society, that is one of the only support systems to the cat community and the bird rescue community. So Roar, if we could propose, it would be to create signage and a graphic design with informational flyers to post at schools and public places about appropriate animal resources, who to contact if you discover a kitten, what to do if you find a group of chicks, and list the resources: Humane Society, Animal Abuse Division, Hawaii Bird Rescue. The struggle right now is getting the state to learn about these resources and then to create the management policy with the advice from the clinics, the cat community, and the rescue teams, who are the doctors, the nurses, and the rescuers. Thank you. Thank you.
Is there anyone else here wishing to testify on this matter? Delia, I have a question, one or two. How many times in a day or a week do you guys have to deal with feral animals on your campus?
I would imagine almost every day, depending on the campus. Chickens.
And how do you deal with them?
Depending on the severity, we will have to contract for eradication in some cases, set traps, depending on the
Is that
situation.
your first choice?
Like I said, it depends on the principal and the severity of what they're reporting. So our maintenance branch would assess it and then make that determination.
Well, may I suggest that you contact some of these organizations that have testified to work with you? Before it gets so severe, I would think that there are other ways to deal with this.
Sure. Yeah, it was good to hear the
I
testimony.
understand the problem, I understand, you know, especially with young children on campus having to deal with feral cats and dogs and the mess that they may leave. And I'm not sure if they're coming on the campus because of food waste not being properly stored or whatever it is, but maybe that's some of the things you guys need to look at.
Yes, very good suggestion.
Yeah, but you know, if you can give me a list of complaints that you've had in the last, say, 2 years.
Okay.
Of colonies of feral animals on the campus and how long it took you guys to remedy the case.
Okay, sure.
Thank you. Question.
How many people have you folks identified as feeders?
I wouldn't have that answer. Who actually comes on campus to feed the animals?
Or nearby? I mean,
Nearby,
obviously
yeah.
this bill is pointing or is directed to them.
Right.
So I'm just wondering if there's regular people that live nearby that are the ones that are feeding them, or
I don't know that answer.
because it doesn't necessarily solve any problem on the campus with these feral animals, whether, you know, these people are feeding them or not, right? I mean, the fact is, if you have them on your campus, you have them on your campus. So, but it's directed at feeders, so I'm just curious if there's a bunch of people regularly nearby
I'll see if
the
I can
campus.
pull the system. That's a good idea.
Thank you.
So, Kurt, I just want to say that my intention is to defer the bill, and I'd like more information from DOE as to, you know, what steps you have taken to contact some of the organizations that deal with, you know, feral cats, lost dogs, whatever, and we'll see if we can try and resolve the issue that way, and if not, we can address this matter again next year.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, is that it? Is that it?
Yeah, one more bill. 2252.
Okay, Senate Bill 2252 relating to the Board of Education. Authorize the board to consider qualified individuals with at least associate's degree or high school to comparable education and coursework, industry experience and content expertise to teach career and technical education courses. To testify, Superintendent.
Good afternoon, Chair Kidani, Vice Chair Kim, members of the committee, Sean Bacon, Assistant Superintendent for the Office of Talent Management for the Department of Education. We stand on our written testimony and support. And just one thing that we noticed after submittal of the testimony is it references in the description of the bill the Board of Education, but I believe in 302A803, it actually falls under the subsection of the Hawaii Teachers Standards Board. So we'd really defer to the Standards Board. I think, you know, this amendment, I think, would really exercise more flexibility. And I think career and technical education has been a really big focus of the superintendent. And, you know, as we're looking to try to fill the shortage of our teachers and having those with industry experience, I think that this bill would definitely help us. So we stand by ready with any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. No more questions? Next to testify, Felicia Villalobos.
Good afternoon, Chair Kidani. Good afternoon, Vice Chair Kim. Felicia Villalobos, Executive Director of the Hawaii Teacher Standards Board on behalf of the board. We're in support of Senate Bill 2252 with our suggested amendments, and HTSB would like to thank Senator Kidani for introducing this bill. The board would also like to acknowledge HTSB's CTE work group, comprised of a variety of CTE stakeholders that identify the revision of this language, and it should be a way to widen the pipeline for CTE teachers to enter the classroom. We hope this bill can be amended to identify HTSB as the authority charged with this task. So thank you for the opportunity to testify. Available for questions.
Thank you. Members, questions? I believe. No questions. Okay. Anyone else wishing to testify on this matter? That's the end of our agenda.
Yes. Now it's
Recess. Thank you for being patient with us. The recommendation of the chair for Senate Bill 3087 relating to early learning is to pass with amendments. The amendments are technical and non-substantive. Chair votes aye.
Senate Bill 3087, recommendation to pass with amendments. Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Hashimoto.
Aye.
Senator Richards and Senator Favela excuse. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. For Senate Bill 2114, recommendation, this is relating to feral animals. The recommendation of the chair is to defer this measure. Defer this measure. Senate Bill 2252 relating to the Board of Education, authorizing the board to consider qualified individuals with at least an associate's degree or high school diploma with comparable education and coursework, industry experience, and content experience to teach career and technical education courses. Recommendation of the chair is to defer. Members' questions? Thank you. Meeting adjourned.